There are several fungal diseases affecting high-bush blueberries in BC. They can be classified based on symptoms and part of the bush that is affected by diseases such as leaves, twigs, stems, fruits, and roots. Blueberry diseases can be controlled effectively as long as the proper planting site is selected and good cultural practices are followed. Dr. Siva Sabarandam, plant pathology at the Ministry of Agriculture, is with us today to briefly describe the most important diseases affecting high-bush blueberries in BC.
When it comes to fungal diseases, there are few that are very important to BC. There are fungal diseases that impacting the blueberry bush above ground, and also there are fungal diseases impacting the root system. There are two major diseases in BC. One is caused by a fungal-like pathogen, which is Phytophthora cinnamomi, which is usually found in areas where a lot of water is sitting in the soil and there is no drainage or little drainage. We have been seeing for the last few years is armillaria, which also can cause similar symptoms but that are different from that caused by Phytophthora. When it comes to symptoms caused by fungal diseases, if you have too much nitrogen in the soil or lack of fertilizer or pH imbalance, all can give us similar type of symptoms. But when you deal with the Phytophthora cinnamomi, which you can see that gradual decline of the plant and the foliage becomes smaller, also they turn color into yellow, and this particular disease symptoms appear in patches. It's all patchy because wherever the water logging or drainage is not good enough, then you probably see these symptoms. But in case of armillaria, which is completely a different pathogen, it can kill a plant instantly, and the symptoms are very dramatic. The entire plant may die. Sometimes it kind of gives a kind of a dry, leaves are very dry, brittle, it becomes brown. The difference between the armillaria and Phytophthora, armillaria doesn't like too much high temperatures, right? And it's same goes to Phytophthora, even though the Phytophthora can thrive under high temperatures as long as there are a lot of moisture is in the soil. I would start with the mummy berries, which you would see the symptoms early in the season. That is in February or early spring.
The symptoms of phimosis and canker diseases for Godronia, there are similarities, or how is the way that they can identify that?
It depends where the infection is. If you have an infection at the base of the stem, either with phimosis or Godronia, you probably see some kind of dieback, which is part of the stem or one stem completely turning brown and dying back. Phimosis can cause blight symptoms, which is on the foliage and also in the young twigs and shoots. Godronia usually doesn't cause that kind of symptoms.
If you have to describe diseases that are affecting during pre-harvest or harvest, which one you can mention as prevalent in our area?
I would say anthracnose is one of the most common one, and botrytis.
Now that we have a kind of panorama about the diseases that are affecting blueberries, what are your recommendations in terms of the management that growers they can take?
We always emphasize on best management practices, and when you are planting a new field, and make sure that your soil is the right soil, which has a lot of drainage and there is no water logging issues with your soil, because any stress put on the plant predisposes the plant to fungal attacks. So the soil land selection is field selection is very important, and also selective pruning, like if you have suppose godonia or canker diseases, by pruning selectively those infected stems, you can reduce the disease pressure in the field. If you are irrigating, we would recommend that you irrigate very early in the morning, so that would give ample enough time to the water to evaporate, so you don't have excess moisture sitting on the foliage, and also make sure that you don't have or minimize your overhead irrigation. Any doubts that you have, you should be submitting a sample to a private lab or the lab run by the Ministry of Agriculture for right identification, because many of the symptoms overlap. So you have to make sure what disease you are going to deal with. Then you can choose based on the diagnostic your right management practices. If you have the right diagnostics, then you would probably use the right fungicide. And you have to do a search first and see what kind of fungicides are available. All these fungicides registered on blueberries for a particular disease is all listed in the ministry website and also in the production guide. If you use one fungicide repeatedly over a period of time, the fungus start to develop resistance. So the fungicide become no longer effective for that particular disease. The most effective way of preventing diseases is applying fungicides well in advance or before onset of disease.